Hi guys, I'm Max Weinbach with XDA TV, and today I've got something a little special for you. I've got these. These are three 3D printed, I would say dummies, of Samsung's upcoming flagships, the Galaxy S20, S20 Plus, and S20 Ultra. So I'm going to just show these to you guys and compare them in size to a couple other phones I have from Samsung, Apple, and just a couple other brands. So, let's get started. So as you guys might be able to tell, I've got a lot of phones here, and all of these are just a little bit different in size. The largest of the bunch being this Note 10 Plus, and the smallest being the iPhone XS. So I just want to go through these and compare the sizes to try to give you just an idea of what these phones will look like when they are announced in a couple weeks on February 11th in San Francisco. So this is the smallest Galaxy S20, and it actually doesn't feel that big. This should be about a 6.2, 6.3 inch screen, but it doesn't feel big. So this is the Galaxy S10, the mid-sized one, and this is about 6.1. But the S20 feels smaller, even though it is physically a little bit bigger. As you can see there, it's definitely a little taller, but it is a little bit less narrow. And something else about these phones, I don't know if you're actually able to tell, but there's barely any screen curve to this. Now, there's just a little bit, just a tiny bit, and you can kind of see it right there. But there's very little screen curve. Now, I can grab the S20 Plus, and very little screen curve. You can see it down at the bottom there. Very little curve, and then the S20 Ultra. Very, very little curve. The back is curved more than the front. And that's actually because they use a waterfall-esque type back glass to make it feel a little bit thinner and more comfortable in the hand. They did that with the Galaxy S10, Note 10 here. You can see that is curved, and that's about the same type of curve. But now, let's go and grab this phone again. This is the Galaxy S20, the smallest size. And it compares very well to the S10 here. I would say it's a little bit more comfortable to hold than the S10. I can't actually give you guys weights, but I can give you sizes since these are based off of CAD files that Samsung sends to case manufacturers. So this is generally what it will look like. The sizes are correct, the camera sizes are correct, hole punch, everything about this is correct, with maybe a couple design changes here and there, but it is, in all intents and purposes, correct. So it feels good in the hand. I think this might feel a little bit better in size than this S10 here. It's easier, it's a lot more narrow, so it doesn't feel big, even though it is a large phone size. The display size is, as I mentioned earlier, about 6.2, 6.3 inches, and it is a 20:9 aspect ratio, so it is definitely tall. You're getting up into the tall range of phones, but it's not as tall as something like the Xperia 1, which is a 21:9 screen. So I think this is a good size. It's a decent bit smaller than the Galaxy S10 Plus, and definitely a little bit bigger than the iPhone XS, which is the smallest iPhone. Same size as the 11 Pro, but I didn't get an 11 Pro. I have the 11 Pro Max, so I can't really show you guys that one. But yeah, you can see here the camera cutout isn't too large. It's actually smaller than the pixels, narrower, I'd say. But definitely a little bit longer. You can kind of see it there, but there are actually 3 cameras that will have a 64 megapixel telephoto lens, and a 12 megapixel ultra wide, and a 12 megapixel main shooter. And then that should be the flash right there, and a microphone down at the bottom. The microphone will support, zoom in mic, just like the Note 10, and it should be an all-around good phone. You've got the volume buttons over here and the power button. It is in a good spot. It isn't as high as it was on the Galaxy S10, which is definitely a little bit more comfortable. And they didn't put it over on the left side like they did on the Note 10. So it's a little bit more natural right here for right-handed folk like myself. So next, let's go the S20 Plus. I think this will probably be the most popular of the S20s, both due to its size and just everything you're getting. So it is a decent bit larger than the Galaxy S10 Plus. You can see here it's definitely a decent bit taller. It is, I would say, pretty close in width Yeah, it's essentially the same. So it won't feel any larger in your hand, but it is definitely bigger because of the screen size and how tall it is. I believe this has a 6.7-inch display, which is definitely a bit bigger than the 6.4-inch display we have on the S10 Plus. You can see here we've got the volume buttons and power buttons over on the side again, and as I mentioned earlier, very little display curve. And you can kind of see it there, but there is a hole punch. It's a centered hole on each of the phones. On the back again, we have this camera, big camera there. Again, bigger than the Pixel 4. The phones are actually basically the same height, which is pretty interesting. It is bigger, but it does actually have more cameras than this smaller Galaxy S20. This has got a 64 megapixel telephoto, like the S20, a 12 megapixel main sensor, a 12 megapixel ultra wide, and a time of flight, and then a flash and a microphone. So that's basically this phone. It does, again, feel pretty comfortable to hold, but it is tall. But I don't think that makes much of a difference. I kind of like the taller phone designs that we're getting to. And now for the beast, the biggest, the baddest, the most powerful phone, the Galaxy S20 Ultra. Now, as you can see here, we've got this absolutely massive camera cutout. This is huge. It won't look like this. This is an old design, but this is the CAD file I had for 3D printing. So this will have a 108 megapixel camera with a 10 times telephoto using the prism optical whatever sensors, the periscope. That'll be 48 megapixels with an 100 times zoom that Samsung calls space zoom. It'll have the same 12 megapixel ultra wide, and I think it has like one more camera that I'm not sure about. It has time of flight, it has a microphone, has a flash, and then all three phones actually have a 10 megapixel front camera. It's the same as the Note 10 and S10, but it supports 4K 60 FPS instead of 4K 30 FPS. It is the same sensor though. But this phone is the biggest of the bunch, and I think probably the biggest phone I have besides the Galaxy Fold. It is bigger than the Note 10. Like, the Note 10 is a huge phone. This is bigger. That's a good, couple millimeters up at the top, and it doesn't feel that much bigger. The width is about the same between the Note 10 and S20 Ultra, which is pretty good. And it also has less of a curve than that Note 10 there. It does feel a little bit more comfortable to hold this phone because it is the less boxy corners, but I happen to like the boxy corners, so it's a bit of a shame to see Samsung isn't bringing that design back to the S series. Compared to the S10 Plus, it's a lot bigger. It's a massive phone. Even the OnePlus 7 Pro up there is smaller than the S20 Ultra, and the OnePlus 7 Pro is a huge phone. When you compare it to this dinky little phone, the S10, it's maybe a half-inch larger. It is just massive. I have a Vivo Nex 3 5G, not showing it off right now, but it feels about the same size, and that is a huge phone. Compared to the Galaxy Fold, it's taller. It's bigger than the Galaxy Fold, but of course, the Fold has that foldable screen, so it's not going to be as big as that foldable screen there. Now, the one phone from the S series, from the Next Unpacked, the 2020 flagship Samsung has, that I do not have currently, is the Samsung Galaxy Z Flip. That is their next upcoming foldable phone. Sadly, I don't have it, but I do believe it should be about this size, the S20 Plus size, and it will just fold down the center and to be about that large, which is about, I don't know. It's hard to give like a size, but it should be a decent size phone when folded, but it will be smaller than how it is now. Now, I can't really break these, otherwise I would cut one in half and kind of show you the size, but yeah, that's about what you're getting here. Now, I did order all three of these based off the CAD files sent to me over from Carl from Schnell Cases. I believe that's how you pronounce it. They have some pretty good cases over on Amazon if you guys are interested in those. But yeah, these are three true-to-life size phones, dummies, of the Galaxy S20s. I'm actually really excited to have these in hand. I've been leaking a bunch. I'm actually going to throw up a video of the S20 in hand from a source of mine. You've probably seen these all over the internet at this point. They've been a massive leak, especially since it's an upcoming flagship. So I'll be sure to link those leaks down in the description. There are 3 or 4 articles right now about them, including the wallpapers, if you guys want to check those out, which I'm actually using right here on the note. It's a pretty nice looking wallpaper. Yeah, you can see it. It's a pretty nice looking wallpaper. I do like it. So if you guys are interested in checking any of that out, I'll link it in the description. And thank you for watching.